What's up, YouTube? Do a little discussion today. Today, I wanted to talk about bringing in outside revenue into the yo-yo community. So, what do I mean by outside revenue? Right now, the yo-yo community is sort of self-contained. Basically, yo-yo players and yo-yo companies pay for contests. Sometimes those people who put on for contests also pay for the contests, and it's all sort of an internal thing. And the only way more money gets into the yo-yo community is if we bring more people into the yo-yo community. But I feel like in order to grow the yo-yo community, we need an injection of outside money. So, what do I mean by outside money? I'm talking about Coca-Cola money. I'm talking about TV money, revenue streams, different revenue streams that come in into the yo-yo community, allowing us to put on more contests, allowing us to sort of grow the community via, you know, people going to contests, going to doing school tours, things like that. So let's talk about what types of outside revenue we could get in here and how I think we can do it. But I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below as well. And also, make sure you like and subscribe. I do videos every single day. All right, outside revenue. Number one, first and foremost, is going to be sponsors. Now, we do a good job of that internally. Yo-yo companies sponsor yo-yo players. They give those players yo-yos and pay for some costs to go to contests and compete, and yada, yada, yada. Give them t-shirts to wear so that they can get the brand out there. We do that. We do a pretty good job internally, I got to say. We're very good at that. They put teams together, hawk the products, not hawk the products, but, you know, promote the products, and it works out very well. But that could be an outside thing as well. Think about, I mean, maybe for the top players particularly, think about, you know, your Gentry Steins, your Evan Gals. What if they got a Puma sponsorship or a Nike sponsorship or something? Guys who are out there a lot in front of other people wearing that stuff, wearing that brand. Not saying it's a thing that's going to take off and jump immediately, and that's maybe not the first thing to talk about, but that is how you get outside money in, especially to players, is have them look for sponsorships as though they were Tiger Woods. Now, they're not Tiger Woods, but they're somebody. I mean, they're somebody to us, and if they're somebody to us and they're somebody to kids who are, you know, out there just throwing yo-yos, doing their thing, there's potential there, and even if it just ends up being a couple hats and maybe a couple $100, a little bit's better than nothing. Additionally, as far as outside sponsors are concerned, outside sponsors for contests, meaning sponsors that come from outside the yo-yo community. This happens usually with the World Yo-Yo Contest. I think Mountain Dew did it last year. They sponsored the World Yo-Yo Contest, threw some money at it. And I think Wells Fargo the year before, but I feel like we needed to try to incorporate this more than we have been. For instance, when we did East Coast Masters, we tried to go around and get some of the local places to help sponsor as well, and we get a little bit of that. I mean, you know, I think we'll get better at that, and that'll get more successful as time goes on, but you have to start somewhere. So we started a little bit of that, and it was a very small percentage of the costs of what we got and what we were able to pay for cost-wise, but it also kind of, you know, it wasn't as much as I'd initially hoped. But we're looking to build on that, and I'm hoping that that kind of becomes a norm for contests anyway, because if you give contest people more revenue, they can have the contests in better buildings, they can have better prizes, cash prizes, and roll from there. Right now, you know, contests are very often put together on a shoestring budget. That's why a lot of times you see them, they happen in parks, they happen in, you know, just like fire halls and stuff like that. And the big contests are put on in, you know, large venues. Those cost a fortune. The National Yo-Yo Contest is going to cost a fortune to put on. But, you know, that's really where all the vendors come in. And all the sponsors and everything. That's what everybody throws their cash at. But, you know, for the little contests, it's always sort of a like, well, is it going to be, do I have to have it at a park? Do I have to do it, you know? And that's really just because there isn't that much money there. But other ways to get money in, you know, like I said, outside sponsors. I think we really need to work on that as a whole community. Sort of start to get the idea in the heads of people. Hey, want to have a yo-yo contest? Can you help sponsor? Want to have a yo-yo contest? Can you help sponsor? The more sponsors that are contacted about it enough times, you know, eventually they're going to be like, oh, maybe there's something about this. And put it out there. And if not, you know, we'll just keep moving on. Eventually somebody will do it. It'll be, we'll get there. It's going to happen. Other ways to sort of get creators anyway, guys who create stuff. Right now there's really only, you know, you can start your own yo-yo company and sell people yo-yos. Or that's it. However, for those of us who create on YouTube, which there's more and more of us all the time, which I am super happy about. You guys are great. The more creating, the more YouTube content we create, the better. But there's also Patreon. Yotrix just started their Patreon. I think it's good for them because I think that whatever they make via that Patreon, they put right back in. They're like sort of the perfect beginner people, or the perfect like stepping stone into Patreon for the yo-yo community, because they're sort of pure in that sense, in my opinion. Whatever they get out of Patreon, whatever revenue they create, they're just going to use to push more content, have better contests, have more contests, stuff like that. So I think they're like sort of a great litmus test. Is this going to work for Yotrix? Because if it works for Yotrix, we can sort of start to look at it as a more viable option for the rest of us. You know, guys like me, guys like Nate, guys like Dylan, the guys who aren't necessarily Yotrix, or, you know, Yo-Yo Expert, I think would be another good litmus test if they start pushing out more tutorials like they have been with, you know, they've got the Paul Kerbal ones going out now, and all the great ones that Andre did. If Andre taught you how to yo-yo, hit the like button, because he taught me how to yo-yo. And Steve Brown. I learned from good people. I should be better. Anyway, so Patreon, I think, is a possibility. Still waiting to see how that shakes out with Yotrix, and we'll go from there. But Patreon and other subscription services, I feel like, are sort of the, like, maybe the next thing for us. You know, additionally, for guys like me, the YouTube revenue is great. It's very minuscule, and it's not really growing. Like, YouTube keeps kind of taking little nips and cuts and corners. So it's making it harder and harder to actually make money on YouTube. It's harder now than it was 5 years ago, and yada, yada, yada. But it's still a pretty good source of, like, little extra bits and pieces. I mean, basically, it helps me connect. It helps me get a little bit of cash revenue so that I can go to contests and occasionally buy a yo-yo and what have you. The YouTube revenue more or less pays for my channel. That plus the other couple of little avenues that I have that I've worked out. But channel's more or less paid for now, which was a goal of mine to have done by this year. I think I'm pretty much there. So that's really good to have hit that. It's really nice. And, you know, to sort of be able to do that is good, but it's a lot of work with YouTube. So YouTube can't be like the only thing. It's got to be like a part of it. But I think YouTube, I think that revenue is sort of overlooked a lot of times because a lot of yo-yo stuff happens on Instagram, but there's no revenue in Instagram. You could have a bazillion followers on Instagram, but Instagram's not going to give you a check every month. Doesn't matter how many views or how many looks or how many clicks or whatever, you don't get money from Instagram. So the other thing is for competitors, not me, but for competitors, cash prizes. So let's say, you know, your top competitors, your Colin Beckfords, your Michael Ferticos, your Andrew Bergens, those guys. You know, go around, go to a lot of contests, do very well in a lot of contests. You know, those guys accumulate a lot of yo-yos by winning contests, and they have to sell off those yo-yos or to make any money or to make the money back for whatever it costs them to travel to the contest. But cash prizes for those contests would really, really help. Now, there can be tax things involved if they win more than $500 and what have you, and they should probably, if it turns into, like, you know, cash, everybody going to win cash prize, like, let's say, you know, over the course of a year, Colin Beckford wins something like $3,000. He's going to have to claim that on his taxes, but not necessarily if I don't hand out more than 500, but like more than $500 to somebody, I don't have to like hand them a W-2 or a 1099. But you know, there's that whole little element to worry about, but we're nowhere near that. So, like, I feel like we should just cross that bridge when we get there. And it's much better to have the money and have to pay taxes on it than to not have any money at all. I just put that out there that way. Much better to have money and pay taxes on that money than it is to not have any money. It's just the way it is. That's a life lesson for everybody. To have the money, pay the taxes, better than not having the money. So do that. Other avenues are Twitch. If you stand around yo-yoing all day, maybe start a Twitch live stream. Video gamers do it, and they bring home 3-figure incomes sometimes. Yeah, I feel like Twitch is a sort of unexplored thing for yo-yo. Twitch isn't a thing I could do because I kind of need to pre-record videos and schedule the uploads and stuff, and I just don't stand around long enough to yo-yo to be on Twitch, but there's plenty of guys that do. And that could be totally lucrative for some guys. It might just be soothing to watch somebody play yo-yo. You don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff on Twitch, and those people make money. Twitch is kind of new, unexplored for yo-yo, so that might be something for guys with more time on their hands than me to look into. Just wanted to throw that out there. Another thing is like commercials for outside things. Now, there was bank commercials that Colin Beckford was in, and I think some of the Duncan guys were in. I want to say Sean Perez was in one. Basically, they were commercials for the bank, and it was like, yeah, you can be good at yo-yo, but like open a checking account. And it was cool because like you saw Colin in a commercial, you saw, I think Sean Perez was in a commercial, and a bunch of stuff, and like a bunch of those guys. I think that is really a good step for those guys to kind of be able to kind of accumulate some revenue so that they can, you know, in addition to their sponsorships and everything else, have money to go to travel to the contests, to stay in hotels, to eat food, and, you know, stuff like that. Hang out with everybody. I feel like contests a lot of times too should be like almost like parties afterwards. That's what East Coast Masters was like. It was basically, we had a great contest, and then they all went out and had a party after. I had to come home and be with the kids. That's what happens when you become an old man. You gotta go home and be with the kids. But the guys who were in their 20s and stuff had a blast. Like, they went and had a good time, hung out. I saw lots of pictures of guys going to dinner and going to bars, and man, I wish. Next time, maybe. Let's ship the kids off to my mom's house or something and go clubbing with everybody. And then I'll have to go to sleep at like 10 o'clock. Other things, you know, yo-yo clubs and other affiliates. So right now I'm a Yo-Yo Best Buy affiliate. I talk about that all the time, link in the description. But that helps me to generate revenue to get new yo-yos. Usually I don't ever take money from JD for the most part. I generally just buy yo-yos from him with the money that I earn, and that helps fuel the channel. But sometimes I do. I have one time before East Coast Masters took some money so that I had some spending money at East Coast Masters. So thank you, JD, for the affiliate program. But affiliate programs are great, and I feel like you can sort of work those out with either local places, maybe a local toy store or something. And, you know, if you're running a club or something, when people come in and they're buying yo-yos and they're buying toys and kendamas and other stuff, you know, because, like, well, I host this club, I organize this, you know, put me on payroll or give me a payout or part of commission or something. I feel like there's a lot of places, a couple places that do that. SW Randall kind of does, I think does something like that with Kai. He gets some kind of something for having organized the club, but he was also an employee there for a while, so I don't really know how that works, but I think it worked that way at one point, where he was sort of on the clock to run Yo-Yo Club or whatever. So that was cool, stuff like that. And, you know, I feel like there's avenues like that you could also take. And affiliate programs, of course, always good. And then the last thing that sort of needs to be turned around, right now contests sort of almost cost money to the people who are putting on the contests. Like, that money comes out of their own pocket to, like, put on their own. So that's why they don't win cash prizes, because it costs the guy who put the contest on a couple $100 to actually do it. Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And that's sort of, that's difficult, you know? I mean, that's one of those things where it just shouldn't be. And I feel like that really discourages people, or, you know, makes contests not happen annually when things like that happen. So, I mean, really, we got to get an influx in of contests actually turning a profit as opposed to breaking even, or at least breaking even as opposed to losing money. Turning a profit would be great, because then they could sort of put that money towards the following year, or put it back into getting yo-yos made or whatever. It could sort of be a sort of cyclical internal money thing for contests. I really feel like where the contests sort of lose out on that is that a lot of times contests are announced really like a couple weeks before they happen. So people, one, don't have enough time to really plan to get there. So it's hard to get anybody who's not pretty local or young with nothing to do to get out there, because it's like you only knew 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And if you only know a couple weeks in advance, it's hard to plan that. Especially guys with families, guys like me, guys who have money to spend. It's hard to plan that around your family. What we did with East Coast Masters is we announced it 3 months before we had it, and then we kept announcing it. We kept talking about it. We kept building the sponsors. It gave us a lot of time to organize everything, to have sponsors organized, because also we didn't know what we were doing. So there's that as well. But I feel like we sort of need to like come up with dates and locations a little bit further ahead of time so that we can kind of plan out and make sure that there isn't a shortage of cash to put said contest on in a short period of time. And I feel like that sort of is like the one thing that we could really do better, is sort of announce contests and plan them out a little bit further ahead of time. Some contests do, and those ones usually go really well, but the ones that kind of happen in a short amount of time, I don't know how well they usually do, but you usually kind of hear complaints afterwards. So hopefully that starts to happen, because I feel like that's really what needs to happen to kind of make contests be profitable, as opposed to loss of cash for whatever company decides to go ahead and throw the whole shindig. Because contests are a blast, and they're sort of the core of the community. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Let me know what you think. Tell me down in the comments. I think we got to get some more money in the yo-yo community if we're going to grow it. People got to be able to not have to have a second job in order to play yo-yo. The best guys got to have at least yo-yo pay for itself. I feel like that's the way. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I do videos every day, pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, cheers to you. I'll see you next time.